A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I bear witness, first of all, that nothing deserves to be worshipped but Allah. And I bear witness that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, upon whom be peace, is the last and final messenger, after whom no prophet, old or new, will come. I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Inna atayna kal karsar, fasali li rabbika wanhar. Inna shania kahual abtar. Brothers and sisters, our message today will be taken from chapter 3 of the Holy Qur'an, a chapter that is known as Al-Imran, the family of Amran. And today I will be dealing with just 4 verses from this chapter, verses 101 to verses 104. In chapter 3 of the Holy Qur'an, and I quote, this is taken from starting from verse 101, O you who believe, keep your duty to Allah as it ought to be kept, and die not unless you are Muslims. And in 102 it goes on, and hold fast by the covenant of Allah altogether, and be not disunited. And remember Allah's favor to you when you were enemies. Then He united your hearts, so by His favor you became brethren. And you were on the brink of a pit of fire. Then He saved you from it. Thus Allah makes clear to you His messages, that you may be guided. Now in these 2 verses, first of all in verse 101, it goes here, keep your duty to Allah as it ought to be kept, and die not unless you are Muslims. 2 operative words here. First of all, die not unless you are Muslims. What does the Quran mean here to say unless you are Muslim? First of all, we need to understand Islam itself, and then to understand who is a Muslim, or as I say, what is a Muslim to some extent. The religion Islam, at its core essence, is a beautiful religion, one of peace, one of pristine values and teachings. So that if we think of the distillation process or the purification process, or a process that you have the essence of all that is beautiful and valuable, throughout the years we have had different philosophy and ideologies that would have come. And just as a bee goes from flower to flower, and you have, from that nectar, you have the honey, right, that is a healing. Islam, as it were, offers the healing for spiritual illnesses, of spiritual and moral illnesses. So then the question is, who is a Muslim? So traditionally, we would have been taught a Muslim is one who submits to Allah. Anyone from the early age with Maktab, that is one teaching. But going deeper into the concept of who is a Muslim is one who, as it were, is aligned and believes in the beautiful and pure teachings of this religion of Islam. So, for example, the Quran teaches that we must imbue ourselves with the attributes of the Creator, imbue ourselves with the many attributes of Almighty Allah. So that is a striving. The other thing is, a Muslim is one who recognizes, with all the human frailties, weaknesses, gaps that one may have, that one has to strive on that part of development. Physical development, moral development, spiritual development. So that one's journey in life is one of striving for improvement. That you benchmark yourself not against others, but you benchmark yourself against yourself in your journey in terms of your growth from stage onto stage. And that is why the verse says here, die not unless you are Muslim, meaning you recognize that your life is one of a journey, right? You have work that is unfinished. You have a purpose for living. All the experiences, all the events, all the situations that have brought you to the person that you are now, it is preparing you for something that is higher and greater. So as you strive to move from stage to stage in terms of your own development. So you harness the lessons from all your life experiences and become a better person. So the Muslim, to go on, so as it were, imbues themselves with the attributes of Almighty God, Almighty Allah, and also recognizes, as I say, their frailties, their weaknesses, and strives in a part of development. Now, the chapter goes on here in 102, and hold fast by the covenant of Allah. What is this covenant of Allah? Right? The covenant of Allah, as it were, something that holds us together, and that the Qur'an is the binding force of the Muslim nation. The teachings of the Holy Qur'an is, as its word, it's a great unifying force. Once, as Muslims, we understand the core tenets and principles of the religion of Islam, teachings of the Holy Qur'an, it can unite us if we subscribe to this belief system. And this verse goes on to say, remember Allah's favors to you when you were enemies. Then He united your hearts, so by His favor you became brethren. A few things about the teachings of the Holy Qur'an, as I've said in the past. One is that it gives us a historical perspective. Sometimes one verse will traverse three layers. One, it gives us a historical perspective. Two, it gives us an analogy in the time of the Prophet of Muhammad, upon whom be peace. And the third is in terms of our time and what lessons can we derive. So the Quran is talking here that, you were enemies. You were on the brink of a pit of fire. And we saved you from it. Before the advent of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, upon whom be peace, and you look at the history of the Arabian Peninsula, the various tribes of Arabia there was a lot of conflict, a lot of infighting. They were on the verge of, tribal warfare. The Prophet Muhammad, upon whom be peace, with his mission and with the revelation of the teachings of the Holy Quran, the teachings of Islam, became a great unifying force in the Arabian Peninsula, first in Saudi Arabia, but then throughout the empires, the decades and centuries that would follow, with this beautiful message and this beautiful teaching that came. So, saving one from the brink of fire, in a historical perspective, the Quran is referring to the time of the Prophet Muhammad, upon whom be peace, when the messages of Islam and the wisdom of the Prophet was able to prevent warfare. In our current time, and particularly, we are living in some interesting times, the world, as it were, is on the brink of warfare. And what solutions and what, ways of means of achieving peace and stability. The scriptures gives us guidance from previous times of what can be done, adhering to certain principles, certain values, certain conditions that can prevent war. The chapter goes on, and I did 101 and 102, and in verse 103 it goes here, and from among you there should be a party who invite to good and enjoin the right and forbid the wrong, and these are they who are successful. There are four salient points that we get from this verse 105. There can be more, but there are four salient points that I've identified from it. One, we're referring to a party from among you who they invite to good, they enjoin the right, they forbid the wrong, and these are they that are successful. In the realm of Islam, and I guess in all faith systems, you can do an analogy on an interpretation and a reflection, and you can identify that there are four types of people, right? So in any faith system or any religious system, as it were, and in this case I'm dealing with Islam. So in Islam, I would identify there are four types of people. One, there are those who disbelieve in the message. They don't subscribe to it. You can't convince them. They don't believe you can, whatever you present, they don't really believe in this message. The second type of people are those who tell you they believe, and they're with you. They stand aside. They stand alongside you. They sit around the table with you, They are there with you, but in secret, they plan against you. They undermine the work that you're doing. So it's very dangerous because you may think that they're with you and subscribe to what you're trying to do, but they're quietly working against you. The third type of people, and these are people who are seeking blessings for themselves. So religion for them is an acquisition of blessings. So just as somebody working and has a bank account to work out how much money you could put into that account, religion becomes a strategy of acquiring as much blessings as in a bit of selfish way for oneself, right? To get as much blessings as possible, to please God, and that you have a ticket to heaven. And the fourth type of people are a selfless group who focus on propagating the pure and the pristine messages and teachings of the great religion. So that propagation work, propagating the messages of the Holy Qur'an, right, is critical to them. Now, understanding the concept of propagation, right, is that presenting the teachings, the philosophy, the belief. One doesn't have to be a speaker. One doesn't have to come in front of the camera to say that only those who speak are doing propagation work. Propagation work is a very wide-ranging field where you can have those who volunteer of their time to do research, to volunteer support, to help you set up a location, may have an event, plan an event where you invite people to your home. So if you have an event and you invite people to your home to listen to a message, that's you're contributing to propagation work. Sometimes whether in the mosque, the temple, the church, you plan an event where you invite 200 people or more to come get a message that benefits them, help prepare a meal. So not only spiritually people are nourished, but even physically, you benefit from a meal. That is propagation work. There are those who can give of their resources, their ideas. Those who can give financially. Those can advise you on legal matters. Those can advise you on if you need to acquire a location to set up a building, to build a new hall. Those who are versed in the media, how to do a recording, how to get it on the television station or the radio station or the internet, for example. So propagation work is wide-ranging. So my question to you, as I have done these 4 categories here, what type of person are you? And that is a question for self-reflection, because when one looks at the last 2 years in particular, the frailties of human existence, all of us have experienced tremendous change in the last 2 years, where we have lost loved ones. Some people have lost their jobs. Some people have lost the relationships they have. Some people have lost businesses. As we venture forth now in 2022 onwards, as we try to re-emerge in society, as countries declare that we can now move about to some level of normalcy, but recognizing that this virus is going to be around for the long haul, what type of person are you in the realm of religious work? Are you a disbeliever? Are you one who stand with people but quietly work against the main goals of those that are planning? Are you one who are only focusing on your blessing? Or are you one who is involved in propagation work in your own way? And that is something to reflect on. The Qur'an is saying that the highest of those are those who involve the party that invite to good, the party that forbids the wrong, the party that enjoins what is right. These are they who are successful. More than ever, people need to coalesce or find themselves with similar and like-minded people who are focused on achieving honorable and noble goals. Because we realize that our sojourn in this lifetime is a very short span. As I said, all of us have lost very young friends. Everybody has had family or members who are no longer with us. And you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, when anyone looks back on your life or what contribution you had, or even those, in your community or your area, what would you want to be remembered for? And that is something that can, even whatever you have started and whatever you're doing, you can always do a little more. It's time for everyone has to do a lot of self-reflection and say, how am I going to impact the world, recognizing what we have all just come through? How am I going to make the place a little different so that when my children look back or my grandchildren look back, I would have at least made some contribution to making the world a better place. So in this chapter 3, 103, this party who invite the good and join the right and forbid the wrong, the Qur'an is saying that this is the highest of the believers of Islam, that they contribute to propagating the pristine teachings and the values that are taught in the pages of the book. And I dare say I would extend this not only to Islam, but I think to all faith systems. Those who propagate in Hinduism and Christianity, they have a special place in helping to, and other great religions, in helping to that their followers and those understand the messages a little better and you impact the lives of people so that they can get guidance, wisdom, insight in terms of facing their daily challenges. In 104, the verse goes on, and be not like those who became divided and disagreed after clear arguments had come to them, and for them is a grievous chastisement. So the Quran is being very prophetic here, that whenever you have a group of people, you have people coming together for a common good. So you have a party of people focusing on propagation work. The Quran is saying we have provided clear arguments or clear guidelines how to do this work. But if you deviate from this, from the core values or what is required, then you become disunited. Then you become divided. So that whether you are in an organization now, this is sometimes where they can have rivalries happening. People have different agendas. And when you deviate from the core tenets or principles of the religion and focus on other things. So it's prophetic in giving some advice that when you bring yourself together in a body of people or a group, you need to stick to the core values and systems that are taught in the Quran so that you don't have infighting and you don't have disunity and you don't, as it were, find yourselves on the brink of war. In chapter 5 of the Holy Quran, chapter 5, verse 64, it states, whenever they kindle a fire for war, Allah puts it out. So the Quran is saying that there are always those who are kindling a fire. And I would extend this analogy to not only religious organizations or religious systems. Anybody who's been in an organization, whether it's a company or any business you're running, you can categorize people, as it were, that those who are aligned to your vision and mission statement, as it were. So if it's a business, you have your vision and your mission statement. Those who are aligned with it, those who align to the point just to see about themselves, not for the greater good of what this organization is doing. Those who will be there physically present, but not really aligned to it, maybe working against it. And then those who really just don't believe in it. So one has to ask yourself, as you position yourself, whether in your religious work or your professional work, where you would like to be and how would you like to be remembered. As I said, the last 2 years have been a very, very challenging period for so many of us. Loss has been the defining thing. Loss of loved ones, loss of employment, loss of jobs. Our children have lost 2 valuable years of school. And we now are re-emerging in a society that is, as it were, now reinventing itself going forward. We do not want to fall back into, as it were, some of the old patterns. We would like to make it a better, as I said, the new normal should be something that is better. That those coming out is better than what we had before. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of strategy. It takes a lot of planning. So as I close my message for today, I would just like to say that today we touched a little bit on chapter 3 of the Holy Quran, where it talked about who is a Muslim. It talks about striving to develop oneself as a Muslim. And the Muslim, as it were, is an individual who submits to the will of Allah, who imbues oneself with the attributes of Almighty Allah, who recognizes their frailties, who recognizes their limitations, but recognizing it, continues to strive to improve themselves to the best of their ability. It's one who aligns themselves with like-minded individuals who are focused on honorable and noble goals. We touched a little bit about the 4 types of people that there are in religious work, and the question is, which one do we want to be remembered as? And we also touched a little bit about looking at any narrative of the Qur'an where we can get a message that is, particularly in the time of the Prophet Muhammad, a message that is from previous prophets, and a message that it is a lesson for us to prepare for our time. The reason the Quran gives us so many stories and so many accounts and so many narratives of previous prophets is that there is benefit for us or situational conditions that we will face at some point in our life, and that the lessons that previous people learned, we can draw upon it to do better in our own. I thank you for listening to us, and I wish you all the best in your ventures ahead. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Praise be to Allah, the originator of the heavens and the earth, the maker of the angels, messengers flying on wings, 2 and 3 and 4. He increases in creation what He pleases. Surely Allah is possessor of power over all things. Whatever Allah grants to men of His mercy, there is none to withhold it, and what He withholds, none can grant thereafter. And He is the mighty, the wise. O men, call to mind the favor of Allah to you. Is there any creator besides Allah who provides for you from the heaven and the earth? There is no God but He. How are you then turned away? And if they reject thee, truly messengers before thee were rejected, and to Allah are all affairs returned. O man, surely the promise of Allah is true. So let not the life of this world deceive you, and let not the arch deceiver deceive you about Allah. Surely the devil is your enemy, so take him for an enemy. He only invites his party to be companions of the burning fire. Those who disbelieve, for them is a severe chastisement. And those who believe and do good, for them is forgiveness and a great reward. Is he whose evil deed is made fair seeming to him, so that he considers it good? Now surely Allah leaves in error whom He pleases, and guides aright whom He pleases. So let not thy soul waste in grief for them. Surely Allah is knower of what they do. And Allah is He who sends the winds, so they raise a cloud. Then we drive it onto a dead land, and therewith give light to the earth after its death, and so is the quickening. Whoever desires might, then to Allah belongs the might wholly. To Him do ascend the goodly words and the goodly deed. He exalts it. And those who plan evil, for them is a severe chastisement, and their plan will perish. And Allah created you from dust, then from the life germ, then He made you pairs. And no female bears, nor brings forth, except with His knowledge. And no one living long is granted a long life, nor is aught diminished of one life, but it is all in a book. Surely this is easy to Allah. And the two seas are not alike, the one sweet, very sweet, pleasant to drink, and the other salt, bitter. Yet from both you eat fresh flesh, and bring forth ornaments which you wear. And thou seest the ships cleave through it, that you may seek of His bounty, and that you may give thanks. He causes the night to enter in upon the day, and causes the day to enter in upon the night. And He has made subservient the sun and the moon. Each one moves to an appointed time. This is Allah, your Lord. His is the kingdom, and those whom you call upon beside him own not a straw. If you call on them, they hear not your call, and if they heard, they could not answer you. And on the day of resurrection, they will deny you associating them with Allah, and none can inform thee like the all-aware one. Amen.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wailul lil mutaffifin allazina iza qtalu walan nasi yastawfun wa iza qaluhum aw wazanuhum yuksirun. ألا يظن أولئك أنهم مبعوثون ليوم عظيم يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين كلا إن كتاب الفجار لفي سجين وما أدراك ما سجين كتاب مرقوم ويل يومئذ للمكذبين الذين يكذبون بيوم الدين وما يكذب به إلا كل معتد نثيم إذا تتلى عليه آياتنا قال أساطير الأولين كلا بل ران على قلوبهم ما كانوا يكسبون كلا إنهم من ربهم يومئذ لمحجوبون ثم إنهم لصال الجحيم ثم يقال هذا الذي كنتم به تكذبون كلا إن كتاب الأبرار لفي عليين وما أدراك ما عليون كتاب مرقوم يشهده المقربون إن الأبرار لفي نعيم على الأرائك ينظرون تعرف في وجوههم نضرة النعيم يسقوا من رحيق مختوم ختامه مسك وفي ذلك فليتنافس المتنافسون ومزاجه من تسنيم أين يشرب بها المقربون إن الذين أجرموا كانوا من الذين آمنوا يضحكون وإذا مروا بهم يتغامزون وإذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم انقلبوا فكهين وإذا رأوهم قالوا إن هؤلاء لضالون وما أرسلوا عليهم حافظين فاليوم الذين آمنوا من الكفار يضحكون على الأرائك ينظرون هل ثوب الكفار ما كانوا يفعلون آمين.